saldrá mal. Luego lo comentamos, pero un abrazo, Prometeus. Pues yo creo que saldrá. Es lo que suele hacer SpaceX. Siempre el siguiente vuelo de prueba siempre suele ir mejor. Este, por ejemplo, ya veréis que fue mejor. Y ya veréis cómo cambiaron un poco cómo realizaban ese backflip final. Saludo, Flor. Adrián Braga, un saludo. Joan HR. Desde Barcelona, un saludo. Tresus. Y ahí fijaos el aterrizaje final, ¿eh? Estas imágenes parecían totalmente irreales, ¿eh? Una locura. Ahí tenéis el backflip. Y ahí, bueno, sí, ese fue peor, sí.
De la primera etapa del booster. A ver, vamos a ver. Darme un segundo. Vamos a ver. Lo tengo por aquí. Vale, ya lo tengo por aquí localizado, ¿vale? Vale, esto es el anillo que han puesto de separación de las dos etapas. Con esto se pretende que, pues, que lo que es Starship, cuando esté en vuelo, elevándose, pues la primera idea es que primero se apagara el booster. Y una vez que se ha apagado la primera etapa, la segunda etapa, Starship se encendiese. O sea, se apaga el booster, se separan, desbloquea la primera etapa y como la primera etapa pierde aceleración, pues la segunda etapa pues se separa levemente y es cuando una vez que se ha separado el Starship encendía tres motores, ¿vale? Una vez que se ha separado. Pero ahora se quiere encender la primera etapa antes de que se separen los dos, ¿vale? Sin haber apagado tampoco el booster. ¿Por qué? Para no perder aceleración. Entonces, bueno, aquí tenemos estas imágenes que se ve por aquí el anillo que han puesto de separación. Aquí se ve la altura, cuando estaban construyendo la altura del anillo, tiene como más o menos 2 metros. Por lo tanto, Starship, que medía 120 metros, ahora mide más o menos 122 metros de longitud. Carlos, buenas, Carlos. Giovanni dice, los actuales están por encima de la cúpula. Yo creo que no, que están debajo, ¿eh? A ver, vamos a ver más imágenes sobre esto que me estáis comentando. Vale, aquí tenemos lo que se pretende, ¿vale? Se pretende, pues, el booster, incluso han hecho por ahí una animación, un 3D, una animación muy chula 3D que está por ahí por Twitter circulando, que bueno, más o menos se ve esto, ¿no? Que es que, bueno, pues está saliendo al espacio y pues la primera etapa enciende sus motores, más de 3 motores, aún no está claro si son los 3 centrales que son los atmosféricos o son los 3 que están alrededor de que son en vacío, ¿vale? O sea, están optimizados para actuar en vacío. Así es que no se sabe bien. Entonces, claro, este anillo tiene estas rejillas para disipar esta presión de los motores, de los gases de empuje de los 3 motores de Starship y evitar que haya daños. Esto, fijaos, ya se hacía hace muchos años en otros cohetes. Aquí vemos un cohete ruso, ¿vale? Un diseño similar de separación para que por aquí una estructura tubular para dejar que los gases de aquí de este encendido saliesen por aquí, ¿no? Y no perjudicaran toda la nave, ¿no? O sea, no es una cosa nueva, ¿vale? No es una cosa nueva. Lo que pasa es que, bueno, SpaceX, sabéis que son muy especialitos, muy especiales, y querían ver si podían prescindir de esto, y se ve que a última hora pues decidieron que no. Giovanni, si regresas a la imagen de cúpula protectora vas a ver todo el mecanismo de las aletas. A ver, Giovanni, vamos a ver lo que dices tú. Sí, Giovanni, pero ahora te pongo una foto. Ya sé lo que dices, ya sé lo que dices. Vale, Juan Carlos, buena pregunta, ¿vale? Recuérdame que... Me lo voy a apuntar aquí, ¿vale? Recuérdame que ahora comentamos lo que acabas de decir, ¿vale? Lo de que supongo que con la edición del anillo de separación también aumentó el peso. Aumentó una brutalidad el peso. Una brutalidad. Sí, señor, aumentó una brutalidad. Ahora comentamos una cosa de eso. Quiero ver, quiero recordar que son 20.000 libras. 20.000 libras es lo que pesa el anillo. Ahora comentamos, Giovanni, ahora comentamos lo que tú dices también, ¿vale? A ver, no recuerdo muy bien ahora la equivalencia. Vale, pues creo que son 9 toneladas. ¿Vale? Si alguien lo sabe exacto, me lo dice, ¿vale? Pero creo que el anillo son 9 toneladas, lo que pesa. Entonces, Starship va a tener que ir a full para poder despegar. Buen día, Lorenzo. Vamos a ver lo que estáis comentando, ¿vale? Vamos a ir poco a poco, que son mucha información lo que tenemos que comentar. A ver, lo tenemos, a ver si tenemos por aquí. Vale, vamos a ver si tenemos por aquí. Vale, mirar. Esta foto es dentro como se veía antes, ¿vale, Giovanni? Antes de ponerle el anillo. Ahora han puesto el anillo, han separado más, pero es que encima, por aquí, ahora buscaré la otra foto que tengo, que es mejor que esta. Además de esa separación del anillo con la rejilla perimetral, aquí el anillo lleva una capa por aquí, una capa, un escudo ciego, ¿vale? Que separa, que protege toda esta zona. Protege toda esta zona de mecanismos. O sea, tiene por aquí encima una capa protectora, un escudo, ¿vale? Es que tengo aquí la imagen, pero se me ha ido y no la encuentro. Pero voy a encontrarla, ¿eh? O sea, quiero decir que está separado. Que está separado. El fuego va a estar separado de la... Vale, respecto a lo que me comenta, mientras busco la imagen, mientras lo que me comenta Juan Carlos, se ha trascendido he visto alguna noticia por ahí que una vez que se lance Starship y el booster se separe el Starship del booster, pues se deseche el anillo. Solamente se recuperaría el booster, ¿vale? Entonces el anillo parece ser que sí que va a ser la única pieza que se desecharía. Por lo tanto, ya no haría del todo a Starship, al conjunto Starship, totalmente reutilizable. Pero esto no está claro, y si alguien lo sabe seguro, que también lo ponga por el chat. Vale, vamos a ver si aquí... No sé si han actualizado lo que es el perfil de vuelo. Y esto lo ponen en el perfil de vuelo. A ver, vamos a verlo. Vale, vamos a ver. Bueno, quedan 45 minutos para el lanzamiento. Vale, aquí tenemos el perfil de vuelo que nos hemos quedado por aquí. Entonces, como vemos, se lanza el cohete. asciende más o menos a unos 100 kilómetros de altura. Se separan, se arrancan los motores de Starship, se separan y el booster hace lo que se llama un boost back burn, ¿vale? Vuelve hacia atrás, vuelve un poquito y regresa y cae al mar. Parece que sí que quieren que caiga en vertical, pero también va a caer al mar, en el Golfo de México, cerca del lanzamiento. Entonces, estoy leyendo también vuestros comentarios. Entonces, el booster caerá al mar y lo que es Starship seguirá y dará casi una órbita, más que nada una órbita, no llega a ponerse en órbita, sino que es más bien una trayectoria balística, o sea, asciende y luego cae por su propio peso, va descendiendo y hará la reentrada atmosférica, la famosa reentrada, donde aquí, pues sí que uno de los hitos y de los retos que hay es que también las losetas térmicas, el sistema de aislamiento térmico, pues aguanten y no se desintegre. Y luego, por último, lo que es Starship caerá al mar. ¿Dónde caerá en el mar? Bueno, pues en el océano Pacífico, al norte de las islas de Hawái.
Una economía
¿vale? Por lo tanto,
¿no? Entonces podríamos decir, es que la Tierra es pobre porque el dinero se está gastando en la Tierra
vamos
B.
a verlo aquí.
Bueno, pues entonces ahí efectivamente este tema sí que tendría sentido. Ahí recuerdo un libro haberlo leído.
Poner Google Maps, pero bueno, vamos a verlo.
Pero es que estamos en un único planeta y el
vamos a
dinero,
verlo aquí, por ejemplo, ¿vale?
se gasta dentro de la Tierra, no fuera.
Se lanza desde aquí, Texas.
Sí,
entonces lo que hará es un vuelo así.
Raúl, estoy de acuerdo que se crea trabajo
aquí, para allá, para acá, para hacia acá.
Pero también añadiría toda
por
esta
aquí,
gente
por aquí, por aquí,
parte
atravesará
de la
por aquí,
investigación, por ejemplo, Sergio,
en norte, África, atravesará África por aquí.
Hay que vivir en Marte y hay que aguantar el resto. Pues toda la investigación
y
biológica
luego
que
ahora
se está
vendrá
haciendo en la
así
estación
y
internacional
irá a
se
Hawái.
usa luego en la Tierra.
Aquí.
O sea, no es solo vamos a enviar astronautas a que hagan
Y
ejercicios
caerá
y experimentos
por aquí, en
muy
norte
caros,
de las islas de Hawái.
que se lo pasen bien durante X meses.
Esto es
Toda
Hawái,
esa
creo que se llamaba
ciencia que
Hawái,
se está
¿vale?
haciendo, esa investigación.
De todas formas, bueno, voy a quitar Ventusky, voy a poner
uso va a
Google
ser
Maps, que va a
para la
ser
Tierra.
más
Y aparte
visual.
también el impacto que tiene económico diario. Se calcula que alrededor del 30% del PIB mundial depende, por ejemplo, de la meteorología. Y la meteorología, no sé el porcentaje, pero un gran porcentaje, la mayoría, viene siempre por servicios satelitales, con lo que hay una dependencia directa de todos nosotros en nuestra vida de cosas que se hacen, datos, servicios que vienen del espacio. Entonces, ¿dónde trazar las líneas? Siempre habrán haters que dirán, no, eso prefiero gástatelo en hacer autopistas, o autopistas es un mal ejemplo, que entendéis, en la Tierra que se pueda palpar, y no hace falta mandar. Es parte para mí de la evolución humana, de ir siempre a buscar un poco más y de aprovecharse de las condiciones que tiene el espacio, que son muy complejas, pero sobrepasar esos retos te permite luego tener soluciones para todos los retos que tenemos como sociedad, ya sean cambio climático, sean biológicos o puramente técnicos.
También está aquí el tema, como comenta Adrià, de esto que hemos dicho, hay que explicarlo, ¿no? Es decir, quizá digamos la frontera entre nuestro punto de vista y el que estas personas podrían llegar a tener es que no tienen toda la información, ¿no? Entonces, cuando esto se desarrollan nuevas tecnologías que se desarrollan en el espacio y luego se usan en la Tierra, o se pone de manifiesto la importancia socioeconómica que tiene el sector espacial, o en concreto el de los lanzadores, que también podríamos bajar incluso ese nivel, si no se explica, si no se conoce, claro, la gente no lo va a entender. Por eso esta parte de difusión que se puede hacer entre todos los que estamos aquí ayuda a que al final esa retahíla que se acaba diciendo, pues algún día deje de tener sentido.
Sí. De hecho,
Totalmente de acuerdo.
De hecho, una cosa que es importante, que creo que no habéis dicho, pero que creo que es vital, es que si son empresas privadas, al final es dinero privado, no es dinero público. Claro, al final es gente que pone dinero por una cosa que le apetece. No es que sea dinero que si no se fuera a reutilizar para algo de sector público, no. Es gente que decide poner el dinero ahí.
Ya, pero te pueden decir que sí, eres un inversor privado, pero ¿por qué pones el dinero en cohetes en lugar de dárselo a los pobres? Me refiero,
Ya,
Sí, sí,
¿Dónde,
sí, sí.
dónde
Es
está
que
el límite?
literalmente.
claro.
No hay límite, es que en este tipo de cosas no hay límite, lo digo por experiencia también, ¿no?
Mm.
Esto, yo creo que como Adrián también nos ha pasado, es algo, a ver, no recurrente, obviamente,
Sí.
y a día de hoy ya marginal, pero sí ha pasado, sí.
Sí.
De hecho,
Pasó por
había
el...
un clip que vi muy bueno de Neil deGrasse Tyson que explicaba como 5
Ujú.
inventos o algo así que se habían descubierto a raíz de cosas completamente diferentes. Pues, por ejemplo, investigando para ir a la luna descubrieron no sé qué para medicina. Investigando para medicina descubrieron no sé qué para ingeniería. ¿Sabes? Es como que te pones a investigar, porque al final esto en ingeniería es una cosa que tienes que estar todo el rato actualizándote y tal, y descubres una cosa que no tiene nada que ver y que te va a ayudar para muchísimo. Entonces es
Correcto.
como muy bueno.
Mm.
Sí, total. A ver, me están diciendo la gente en el chat que Ernest está intentando contactar porque tiene información. Ernest, acabo de pasar el link. Cuando quieras te unes a la conversación y nos informas de cómo están las cosas por Starbase. Mientras, me interesa saber ahora vuestra opinión, tanto ya como Raúl. Sabéis que Jeff Bezos y Richard Branson son dos fundadores de empresas privadas de cohetería con capacidad de poner personas en el espacio. Obviamente no orbital, pero bueno. Y ambos han sido de los primeros, por no decir los primeros, en probar esa cápsula, ese avión, en caso de Richard Branson. Si da un futuro en el que vosotros tenéis la suerte y el éxito de participar o de desarrollar directamente una cápsula espacial, ¿os subiríais o sea, iríais al espacio? ¿O qué? ¿Os da miedo? ¿O...?
De hecho, yo personalmente tengo un miedo terrible a volar. Esto es una cosa que mi equipo sabe. Yo, bueno, a Barcelona he ido unas cuantas veces, ¿no? Y rara vez, creo que solo una vez he ido en avión.
Volando.
Pero recuerdo, recuerdo un viaje que tuve que hacer a Galicia también y me crucé, como aquel que dice, de mediodía hasta la madrugada en coche. O sea, evito coger un avión siempre que puedo. Cuando vayamos a Kourou para lanzar mi Hora 5, pues obviamente no voy a coger un barco y voy a tener que volar. He volado cientos de veces, pero me da miedo, ¿vale? Y he tenido malas experiencias, quizá también casualidades, soy gafe con ese tema. No obstante, si desarrollásemos una cápsula tripulada, y he participado activamente mucho en el desarrollo, es decir, que tengo un conocimiento amplio del funcionamiento, yo sí que volaría. Yo sí que volaría.
Bien, bien, vale. Ernest, ¿hay Ernest, Adrián?
Yo con los ojos cerrados.
Sí.
Haya participado o no.
Yo
Lógicamente,
no.
si se haya desarrollado en Pangea, sí, pero sí, yo soy, en este caso, me encantaría subirme. Sí, sin duda. Ojos cerrados, ya te lo
Bien,
digo.
bien, bien.
Ahora, sí,
Me encanta, he pilotado. Dime.
sí, no, adelante, Javier.
No, yo he pilotado de todo, me gusta eso, todo. Tierra, mar y aire,
Ah,
pues,
mira.
para espacio, sí.
A mí me
Muy
gusta
bien,
más
muy bien.
caminar por las sendas, más que pilotar. Pero sí es cierto que, por ejemplo, ¿no? En una ocasión tuve la oportunidad de comentar con una persona que había volado en New Shepard y yo le dije, yo también he volado en New Shepard, pero una tarjeta de visita mía voló en New Shepard, que la tengo ahí guardada, y eso es lo máximo que va a volar de mí en New Shepard. No volaría en New Shepard. Pero también es verdad que si me des a elegir entre New Shepard o Spaceship Two, elegiría New Shepard de cabeza. O sea, Spaceship Two, vamos. O sea,
Ya.
no hay alcohol en el planeta Tierra que financie mi borrachera para subir. O sea, no subiría, ¿no?
Bueno, y luego hay que ver también cómo aterriza, porque no sé si visteis el aterrizaje de los taikonautas hace relativamente poco, que
Sí.
fue
Muy
complejo,
brusco.
con unos cuantos rolls muy bruscos. Pero aún así, yo seguiría subiéndome. Sí.
Bien, me gusta. Bueno, y ahora os quiero comentar, mientras esperamos que entre Ernest, que no sé si es que no tiene nada que comentar o que no puede, espero que todo esté bien. Me dice, o sea, uno de los sueños imposibles de Elon Musk en relación a la Starship es que tiene un sueño de convertir a la Starship en un point-to-point. Es decir, que la Starship pueda no volar a órbita baja terrestre, ni a Marte, ni a la Luna, ni tal. O sea, aparte de eso, que la puedan usar también para llegar a cualquier parte del planeta, en lo que teóricamente, es cierto, se podría conseguir en menos de 30 minutos. ¿Cómo veis? ¿Eso es factible? O sea, ligando un poco con el tema de la aviación de Raúl, ¿vosotros creéis que eso podría ser una... Obviamente hablando de a mucho futuro, ¿eh? Pero quizás lo veis más como para cargas militares o algo así. ¿No? ¿Le veis sentido? Y antes de
en
que me
Estados Unidos.
contestéis, dejadme que invite a Ernest. Ernest, cuéntanos qué pasa. ¿Me oyes, Ernest?
Hola, hola,
No
hola.
se le oye.
Hola, hola. Cuéntame, ¿cómo vamos por Starbase?
Acaba de comenzar el directo de SpaceX del lanzamiento de la Starship.
Vale, ok, perfecto. Lo pongo. Gracias. Venga, vamos allá. Venga, va. Gracias, Ernest. ¿Algo más?
De momento nada más. Iré informando, el siguiente paso en la cuenta atrás tendría que ser el comienzo del enfriado de los motores Raptor.
Perfecto. Muchas gracias, Ernest. Decíamos. No sé qué estaba
Sí,
hablando ahora.
yo-
Bueno, creo que no le he dado la... Dime, Adrián. Lo de Starship Point to Point.
Sí, point to point. Hombre, en Estados Unidos se ha visto ya que hay interés militar para eso y hay contratos que se están dando para eso. Yo lo veo técnicamente posible, pero vuelvo a mencionar lo que decíamos antes. Desde el punto de vista regulatorio, el caos y toda la necesidad de FAAs, EASAs, que se pongan de acuerdo porque de repente pasa una cosa a Mach 8 o Mach lo que sea, y luego aterriza, lo veo muy complejo. O sea, veo de nuevo más problemática de regulación, y aquí sí que el impacto de la sostenibilidad sería importante, con lo que aquí de nuevo tener combustibles más verdes, que poder, por ejemplo, tenerlos de manera no derivados de los hidrocarburos, sino de base sostenible, o biocombustibles como el biometano, etcétera, sería muy importante para que realmente la parte de reglamentación diese el visto bueno. Desde un punto de vista de técnico, al menos SpaceX tiene la capacidad de aterrizar partes de cohetes, sabe hacerlo, la retropropulsión, no lo veo imposible.
Raúl, te pido brevemente tu opinión,
Sí.
y ya, si quieres, os despido para poder ver el directo de SpaceX tranquilamente.
Vale, yo el point to point no lo veo por varias razones. O sea, desde el punto de vista militar, que es, digamos, el enfoque que se le ha dado, o sea, es muy fácil matar una Starship en vuelo con una carga militar, ¿no? O sea, se le manda un misil hipersónico y todo desaparece, ¿no? Entonces, realmente, en un contexto de guerra sería muy complicado. Y luego, si no fuese un contexto de guerra, que simplemente es transportar de un lado a otro, el problema está en el coste. ¿Cuánto cuesta llevar 100 toneladas al otro lado del planeta y que sea rentable, ¿no?
Claro.
O viable económicamente. Entonces, yo realmente lo veo complejo. Lo han vendido de esa manera, como una forma de tener un plan de negocio alternativo, pero realmente la capacidad de carga orbital es la que de verdad tiene importancia.
Yo cuando
Pues
decía
muchas
militar,
gracias.
yo decía no en guerra, siempre solo para transportar cargos, porque si no, efectivamente, es un blanco perfecto en ese sentido.
Sí. Bueno, Raúl, Adrián, Sergio, encantado de haberos tenido aquí. Espero que podamos repetir estas charlas en próximos directos. Ha sido todo un placer. Os dejo que os vayáis ya a vivir la transmisión de SpaceX. Faltan 30 minutos para el lanzamiento. Y de verdad, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí.
Muy bien, gracias, chicos.
Muchas
Vaya muy
gracias.
bien.
Venga,
Hasta luego.
Adiós, chao.
Mucha suerte.
Chao.
Chao.
Sergio, quédate. Vale, Sergio se fue. Vale, pues nada. Bueno, gente, vamos a poner ya pantalla completa. Bueno, pantalla completa. Vamos a quedarnos nosotros con el chat, y voy a darle volumen al directo de SpaceX. Ha sido de verdad todo un placer poder charlar con Raúl y con Adrián. Y nos ponemos ya de lleno a mirar el lanzamiento de SpaceX. El directo de SpaceX.
Public gathering on the beaches at South Padre Island, as you see there.
And I
Estamos
can't
viendo a
say
la
this enough.
gente
Today
en La
is
Padre.
a flight test. While it's
Es una
not
de las islas
happening in a
adyacentes a
lab or on a
Starbase.
test stand, today is absolutely a test. And the goal is to gain invaluable data to continue rapidly improving
Necesito, chicos,
Starship.
ahora que me
So whatever
confirméis
the
que
mission
a mí se me oye
outcome
bien.
today, excitement
¿Vale?
is guaranteed.
Now, if all goes well,
Que se me
Super
oye bien en
Heavy will
relación
fire its
en relación
33
al
Raptor
directo de
engines
SpaceX.
and lift off from that pad right there in Starbase. About 3 minutes into flight, we hope
Ahí
to
nos están
see the
enseñando
super
ahora
heavy
cómo va a
booster
ser
separate from the ship.
get ready to launch the third flight test of Starship. And I guess, Zach, do we have any insight at this point as to when SpaceX may or may not start to have payloads on board Starship rocket, or do you imagine they'll continue flying for a while yet still without payloads on board as they just figure out all the mechanics of this rocket?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that having payload is one of their top goals right now. You know, from my point of view, like as long as you know that it's going to reach orbit, you might as well have a payload on there. So they did have some issues with both ship 24 and ship 25 with the actual payload section. You know, we never actually saw any issues with it, but I think, you know, being inside of the vehicle, they were able to determine that there were some problems with it. If I had to guess, they probably had some jamming of the door mechanisms or with the actual Starlink PEZ dispensers, and that kind of led to them welding the payload doors shut on both ship 24 and ship 25, which was interesting. I think that kind of goes into how much the importance of testing. So, you know, they didn't actually test the payload section until like right now. Actually, I think they have their payload section test article over at the Massey's.
Yeah, we've got John on
for
too.
launch in just over 26 minutes from now. Now, we delayed a day getting here. Yesterday, on Friday, we had to replace a discrepant grid fin actuator on the first stage. We also replaced 2 other actuators as a precaution. The stages were remated, checked out, and everything was go for where we are right now this morning. Now, as I mentioned, we are in propellant loading. Both vehicles, the first and second stages, use the same 2 propellants. Our fuel is liquid methane at a temperature of just over 100 Kelvin, or about 272 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. This is a different fuel from Falcon 9, where we use the RP-1 kerosene. But our oxidizer is liquid oxygen, the same as Falcon 9. Because there is no oxygen in space to support combustion, we have to bring our own. We did the weather poll and the go-no-go poll at T-minus 2 hours. We got the goes, and we started loading both propellants on the booster at T-minus 1 hour and 36 minutes. And at T-minus 1 hour and 17 minutes, we began propellant loading of the ship second stage. Propellant loading of the Starship second stage main tanks will complete at approximately T-minus 22 minutes, just a few minutes from now. And at about the same time, we will switch over to loading the header tanks in the nose of the ship. Meanwhile, it'll be T-minus 3 minutes when super heavy prop load completes on the first stage. And at that point, all propellant will be on the rocket, fully loaded with over 10 million pounds of propellant. As we near T0, it's worth noting that the timing of the countdown will be slightly different today. For Flight 1, we lit the engines and lifted off about 6 seconds later. For Flight 2, we aim to reduce that time by almost 2 seconds, shortening the period between engine start and liftoff.
Oh, they're finally
this will
asking us
help
to do a
reduce
promo
stress
test
on the
on
ground and the propulsion systems and improve the efficiency of the rocket. Now, right now, we're just inside T-minus 25 minutes to liftoff. The weather and winds are looking good. We haven't had any concerns there. The only issue we're working is getting the small boats out of the near range area in the offshore from Boca Chica Starbase. We do have the possibility of holding at T-minus 40 seconds as we're trying to get the last of the boats out of the safety area. Now, if for some reason we do not make our test flight today, we have a backup launch windows. This could be either 24 or 48 hours after today. It depends on how far we get into the countdown. But for now, everything's looking good as we've passed, coming up on the 24-minute mark. I'll hand it back to you, Kate and Shiva.
Alrighty, so a lot of good updates from John there at SpaceX. We're now at T-minus 23 minutes, 42 seconds and counting. The next big milestone will be at T-minus 19 minutes, 40 seconds when the Raptor engine chill begins. One of the things that jumped out at me that we sort of suspected, but it's nice to hear it from SpaceX, is that should they not be able to launch for whatever reason today, they do have backup opportunities potentially tomorrow as well as Monday. Although for those of us who have traveled in from out of state, I'm sure we're all hoping the launch goes off today and we can make it back on time for Thanksgiving with all of our families. So fingers crossed on a personal level that everything goes ship shape for ship 25 and booster 9. Starting with Marcus, we'll go around the horn again. Anything in particular that stood out from John's comments just now, or was it pretty much all what we were kind of expecting to hear from SpaceX at this point?
Yeah, pretty much what we were expecting. It's good to hear that they are reducing the time on the pad while those engines are firing. That reduction, I think he said, of 2 seconds there, although I was struggling to hear. Yeah, I mean, that's a great thing. It's more performance, it's less pressure on the pad, and yeah, it makes total sense. I mean, ideally they would be firing and leaving the pad within a second or two after this thing gets super routine and that sort of thing. So yeah, that was the only standout part for me. Obviously, the boats being in the way is a frustrating problem, and if they being the cause of a delay, these are the things where, you know, SpaceX, I'm sure, would like some of the regulations just relaxed a little bit. Depends where they are, of course. If they're just on the outside or just slightly on the inside of one of the exclusion zones, even though they've all been warned, it's like, you know, arguably they should be able to relax some of those conditions for an event of this magnitude. But you know, look, everybody's doing the best they can. Let's hope they get those boats out of the way.
Zach, anything of note jump out at you, or pretty much on pace with Marcus there as far as what we heard from SpaceX?
Yeah, probably about the same. You know, I guess just to finish the thought from before, you know, I think that we probably should expect to see payloads potentially, well, I want to say on the next flight, but it won't be like a full payload. It would be more like a possibly a dummy payload of at least a single Starlink V2. And, you know, the goal would be to make sure that the actual the payload dispensing mechanism is working as planned. And, you know, ideally, if you're launching and you know you're going to make it to orbit, it doesn't really matter what the ship's going to do on the way in. It doesn't matter what the booster is going to do on the way back. As long as you know you're making it to orbit, you may as well be dispensing payloads. And I think that they kind of have that same thought. You know, these are expensive vehicles. You're going to lose 33, possibly up to 39 Raptor engines in the process. So you may as well get some Starlink V2s up in orbit if you can. You know, that's one of the cool things about Starship in comparison to Falcon 9 back in those development days, is that, you know, they can send up their own payloads at this point, so they're not really worried about risk to customers or anything, because they are the customers, so they can pretty much do whatever they want in that regard. And I think that they're going to want to, as I said, start launching Starlinks from Starship as quickly as possible, because you're kind of limited. I think with the V2s, they're limited to what, like 23? Is it 23 that they've been launching lately on the Falcon 9s? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
slightly less from Vandenberg.
Yeah, we have no idea how many Starship is actually going to hold, but it's going to be drastically higher than that. So, you know, I think that, you know, if you can put 4 times the amount of payload with Starship, that you're going to want to do that as quickly as you can.
Yeah, it's 23 Starlink V2 minis from the Cape, and currently 22 from Vandenberg that we're seeing right now. Sorry, Marcus, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just 19 minutes, 8 seconds out. We are now underway with the Raptor engine chill sequence. Just want to make a note of that as we are very quickly and on time stepping through this countdown procedure. So all signs going well. Stephen did happen to catch over on the horizon NASA's WB-57 observation plane. Of course, we've talked about the fact that Starship is going to play a very important role in the Artemis program as the human landing system for both Artemis 3 and 4 missions, likely for others down the road, but those are the two that they're currently on contract for. Important, of course, because those will be the first times under the Artemis program that will be bringing humans down to the surface of the moon for the first time since Apollo 17 in 1972. So really important that NASA keeps eyes on this mission and obviously gets good data from it as it learns. Just seeing a quick update from SpaceX. They just posted the video of what the hot staging looks like in an animation. So getting our first official rendering of what this will look like from SpaceX's perspective. Seen a lot of fan renderings floating around online, but now we've got the official one here as we're looking forward to seeing the real thing in in the timeline after liftoff. It'll be about 20 or so minutes from now. And Marcus, I cut you off mid-thought. Go ahead.
So the contrail you just saw passing by, that's probably this WB-57 tracking plane that will be used to deliver some nice aerial views for today's launch for NASA and SpaceX analysis.
And NASA's very interested in this mission, Adrian, aren't they?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of the two cornerstone rockets enabling the Artemis program and enabling humans going back to the moon and beyond to Mars. Of course, SLS and Starship will work together for the Artemis 3 mission to bring humans back to the moon, where Starship will be the lander, the human landing system lander. And so this rocket is very crucial to bring humans back to the moon, and with that, very crucial to NASA, because NASA is the ones that are conducting these Artemis missions. So, of course, they want Starship as a partner rocket to succeed.
So they've literally hitched their ride to this ride here. So, and you know, as we've been talking over the last couple of weeks, you know, there was a lot of regulatory hurdles that SpaceX had to go through to get to this point where they could get the launch license, get this thing stacked and ready to go. If we're successful today, do you anticipate that SpaceX will be able to launch more frequently if the design of the ground system and rocket are not changing all that much from one mission to the next?
I think you're absolutely nailing the most important point here, the ground system, because if the ground system holds, it really doesn't influence that much if the rocket at some point in flight will have a failure. Because if your ground system holds, they have the next prototype. They have B-10 ready. They have B-11, Booster 11 ready. They have several ships at this point being ready for static fire testing. So if this ground system is able to work, they might be able to turn around this very, very quickly. If it holds, we don't expect another gap of 7 months. We are probably talking more like in the ballpark of 2-3-ish months.
Right, and last time it was not only the regulatory issues, but also the fact that the launch area was pretty much destroyed and had to be reconstructed. And it's funny, if you just tune in every once in a while to these test flights, you know, everything looks the same as it did before, but they really reconstructed everything. Some of the only lasting examples of what happened there were some of the dents on those tanks that you see in the foreground there. So we're seeing more venting here, Adrian. What's going on here?
That's probably, so as these tanks are topping up, they need to at some point open top valves to let some of the hot because off. This is so cold, alone the contact with the tank wall, where the atmosphere is touching also the tank wall, that will make it boil. So you have to constantly kind of refresh and top off your tanks. So that's what we are seeing here. They're opening basically top valves and are filling colder liquids from the bottom to get this to goal temperature.
And the reason why this looks so much more significant than a Falcon rocket is because it's so much bigger. So you have more fuel, bigger rocket, bigger venting. So that's what we're seeing here. Hey, I wanted to put up this this chat from James Guilford because I think it's important for people to understand what happens after it launches. We become so accustomed, Adrian, to SpaceX rockets launching and landing. Even some of the early Starship tests had some landing going on. But this one is going to not land, right? This is the last we'll see of this rocket after it takes off, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's basically the booster will perform a soft water splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico using a boost back burn, but not an entry burn, and then a landing burn to kind of soft splashdown. That's probably to gather data for possible reusability using the chopsticks down the line for later booster. The ship, however, will go all the way around the globe and try to attempt a re-entry and hard splashdown close to Hawaii because there is no burn planned after the re-entry. The ship will basically still have a high velocity and without any Raptor engines igniting, which SpaceX has confirmed will not do based on their timeline. It will just splash down in the Pacific Ocean and be destroyed because it will be high velocity splashdown.
I like the sound of that. Hopefully we'll have some imagery of that high velocity splashdown. Hey, speaking of Hawaii, X808 Drifter with a super chat is logging in from Hawaii at 3 a.m. Hawaiian time. So again, we've got people all over the world keeping an eye on this. Probably one of our biggest viewership numbers ever here at NSF, and we greatly appreciate everybody stopping in to follow along with us here. And we are just as excited behind the scenes as you are watching. I know I'm excited about this. I woke up super early this morning, even though I was not coming on until around now. So I've been following the chat and the stream as we go here. So we are just under now 14 minutes until the current T0 time, which is the opening of the window at 7 a.m. Central Time in Texas. And we are watching the Starship here, basically topping off its fuel. What you see on screen right here is the hot staging ring, which is a new addition, Adrian, to this system since last time. Do you think this is part of what they were hoping would work the first time? I guess hot staging is a little more reliable, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about hot staging.
Yeah, of course. Hot staging is the newest addition to this stack compared to the last one. The difference is the last launch of this, or for example, a normal Falcon 9 launch, would see a shutdown of the first stage, then a short few second coasting phase, and then ignition of the second stage after it has been separated. Hot staging, as the name implies, means that the second stage will ignite while the third stage is still attached. This will happen here as well, hopefully. And this will not only reduce gravity losses, because you basically don't lose time, which you could use fighting gravity right now, but you also optimize things such the settling of the propellants in the tanks. Because imagine kind of like, well, pushing the gas in your car. You're getting pushed back into the vehicle, right? And that's kind of what would happen here with the propellants as well, because you accelerate and they get pushed all the way back. So that way you have them in the right position to bring them to the Raptor engines.
Right. So you don't have this skip, if you will, in the in the launch process. And Alex, this is a big change in design of this system. Would this require beyond the hot staging ring any kind of massive redesign of the system before this? Launch, or was it something they could just kind of roll in as a update?
Well, I'm not fully sure though. It's definitely quite a change, but you know. In the long run, it might actually be beneficial because I think it's much simpler than the previous one, where they wanted to kick. Sort of the whole rocket around, and that seemed to me always is quite complicated.
Yes.
SpaceX set to have that one go, but this is still a test flight. It is okay if things don't go perfect. However, my personal expectations for this, I do expect it to do better than last time. I expect it to, I hope we get to staging. I hope we get to see the booster returning. If we watch the booster falling and light its engines and we have that tracked, I will be so excited. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So we're waiting now for the completion of the loading of the header tank. So
and
it's...
I'm going to ask because I will be out on the deck. It is possible that we'll get to the launch window, and our countdown is currently set for the start of the launch window. So if one of our Discord members could take control of the overlays, perhaps Andy.
Well, Allie's on site. Let's keep Allie on site.
I'm sorry. Is she all ready to go? Let's go.
Oh, she is.
Allie, are you?
She is locked out. Actually, she just said. So, Andy, you're in charge of updating the clock.
Looking up at the engines is we gimbal the 13 middle engines to check.
Andy will have a delay, so just bear with us on that.
Yeah. Well, he at least will have the same information from X that we do, though.
Yes.
So he'll be as in time.
But his updates.
Yeah, it'll be delayed for the crowd. Will see the delay. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Holy crap. Okay, SpaceX is cheering. Again, we're coming up on T-minus.
The boats are heading south, but we are still planning to hold at T-minus 40 seconds.
They're going to do a hold at T-minus 40 seconds. We don't know how long for. So that will be hard for us to time our timer.
Wasn't it about 30?
Well, we don't.
We have no idea.
We have no idea.
We can't know.
Can you crank the SpaceX feed in our ears a little more, Andrew, if you have it?
Views are just incredible. Couldn't ask for a more beautiful day.
I think it's time we just take that to air.
Yeah.
A test flight here.
Yeah, go ahead and crank.
Again, these are live views of Starship as it awaits its second.
I cannot believe we're T-minus 5 minutes.
Our primary objective today is to get through stage separation. We really want to test.
Give it more juice if we got it from the SpaceX stream. It seems like it's pretty quiet.
To perform hot staging, where we are going to ignite the engines on the second stage, while some of the engines on the first stage are still lit. So essentially,
can you guys confirm is
will be
the
making
SpaceX
fire
audio
at the same time.
quiet for you guys.
That will push the booster away from the ship. It'll separate the two stages. So that's the
Stage
primary goal
separation.
for today.
There's
We really
goals
hope
to test out
be
how
able to test
re-entry
that
goes
out,
on the ship
but at the end of
portion.
the day,
If the
all
booster
and any
survives
data that
stage
we can collect
separation,
is
then
going
it's
to
going to
be
try a boost back
incredibly
burn and
helpful
hopefully
and
a
help
soft
inform
landing as
future
a sort of
improvements and
dress
iterations
rehearsal
of
for
the
what it would
vehicle.
look like on
Yeah,
land.
Kate,
So, I mean, everything coming up to that big design too, assuming we
The hold will
get
happen in
farther
2 minutes, 40
than
seconds. Is that
stage
what they said?
separation. There's goals to test out how re-entry goes on the
Cool.
ship portion. If the booster
2 minutes, 4
survives
minutes,
stage
I'm going.
separation, then
All right,
it's
let's
going to
go
try a
outside.
boost back
I'm gonna
burn and
try to
hopefully
take
a
my
soft
laptop.
landing as a sort of dress rehearsal
I
for
do.
what it would look like on
Here.
land. So everything coming up to that big design change, though, of hot staging today.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, that booster, it will be attempting a water landing in the Gulf of Mexico. We don't intend to recover any of the hardware for either the ship or the booster today. But that booster, yeah, we want to try and demonstrate controlled ascent through most engine cutoff. We want to try to demonstrate that hot staging separation and boost back flip, trying to basically demonstrate controlled burn and entry and that soft water landing. Like you said, it will help inform when we attempt a land landing, but you know, we start in the water first.
Exactly.
Just like we did with the Falcon 9.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, just getting to hot staging, though, is going to be farther than we got on Flight 1.
Yes.
Flight 1, that was about as far as we got. We didn't have hot staging on that vehicle. So that's the first and foremost objective today. Get that far, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Now, one thing that's a little cool about Starship, and it's different from Falcon 9, is we can actually hold a little bit longer if we needed to than we can on Falcon 9 missions. Once we get to T-minus 40 seconds, and if we did have a hold, depending on the reason for the hold, we can hold for up to 30 minutes. And today, actually, our entire launch window is about 20 minutes, so the whole duration would cover most of our launch window.
Yeah.
And that's different from Falcon.
Yeah, absolutely. With Falcon, we have to go exactly at T0. That 40-second hold is super helpful. If we need to, for example, you know, we need more time to pressurize the COPVs for flight levels. You know, perhaps fuel.
If the engineers just need to look at some of the data, see how engines are performing or the avionics.
Exactly. Those checkouts, you know, being able to have the opportunity to top off the fuel or LOX if it's not fully loaded. And, you know, we might want to just take a few more minutes for that. So that T-minus 40-second hold can be really helpful. But, you know, we don't have that option on Falcon. So it's a little bit different here.
We're just inside T-minus 2 minutes and counting. The good news right now we're hearing it doesn't look like we're going to need to hold at T-minus 40 seconds as the boats are clearing out of the way. Next event coming up, TVC wiggles as we move the center engines on the first stage. Maybe just a little bit there. 90 seconds, wiggles are underway as we're checking out the first stage. To T-minus 40 seconds. We'll just listen in. TVC checks last time, as you recall, we did hold at 40 seconds. Next major event we're going to hear, hopefully, is the flight director go for launch at T-minus 30 seconds. As we're coming up on T-minus 1 minute, when we get to T-minus 40 seconds, we'll just listen in. Last time, as you recall, we did hold at 40 seconds, but it took a few seconds for the clock to recover, so we're going to watch that. And as we press to T0, we're going to watch and listen the second test flight of Starship.
They're under 40 seconds. So there is a delay. So get ready, guys. We're about T-minus 30 seconds or so.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Okay.
Back around 3 seconds.
Stare at the rocket from now on.
All right, here we go. Oh my God, Tim, it's happening.
I can't believe this. Oh, they might be back in a hold, actually.
Okay. All right.
They have 20 minutes. But I'm not taking my eyes off the stupid rocket this time.
Never again.
Where am I? I'm occasionally glancing down.
Don't take your eyes off the rocket.
Closing this. last time it made this whole thing shake so much.
Back at Hawthorne, we're at T-minus 40 seconds in holding. We had a rapid recycle. We've not heard anything over the countdown net as the team works both first and second stages. We're going to monitor the nets here for a minute.
I'm shaking. So they can stay in this T-minus 40-second hold throughout the. I mean, they have 20 full minutes of launch window.
Yes. I mean, there are a lot of boats.
Got a little bit of an update. We're continuing to hold at T-minus 40 seconds. This is the normal hold point for Starship, as we talked earlier. Sounds like we're working just late pressurization on, I believe, the second stage. Team is working it. All the other systems are on hold right now at 40 seconds. We can hold here for about 15 minutes or so before we would run out of window for this morning.
Mary Liz was worried about boat traffic, but they're in the channel.
Right now they're working on filling pressure vessels. And ideally we'll be able to solve this and come back and release the clock at T-minus 40 seconds. We're going to continue to listen and monitor for another few minutes.
Make sure the vehicle and make sure the upper stage is fully prepped and fully conditioned at the right pressures, temperatures.
Goes. Here we go, guys. If you want to watch the Project Skyfall, my RC documentary, it's in a previous like series on. It's like in its own playlist. It's pretty interesting. It's like a series of 7 videos, how I make this RC skydiver, and it's pretty dramatic. Here we go, guys. Get your heads in the game. Come on, Riley. Watch the screen, dude.
10, 9.
And just like Chip has said,
Here we go.
we can restart
What
that
you've been
boat,
waiting
and
for.
there it is.
Oh my God! Countdown. Guys, go up. Back up. 30 seconds.
Come on, camera. Lift off.
Yes.
Go, baby, go.
Oh my God!
Quit biting me up.
There it is! Oh my God!
T-minus 15.
Oh my God!
Smooth. Lick them clouds, Rocket. Such a smooth ride. No engines out yet. Bottom left-hand side of your screen there. She's going. Looks like the splash pad did its job. To space. This deserves 2 hot honorary headbangs.
Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. The purple hue of the Metalox burning right now is the most stunning thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It is clean looking. It is so clean. Yes.
Adjust the contrast.
Tells us Starship is through a period of greatest stress on the way to space. Raptor engines. Its major event is hot staging. We heard just over 90 seconds from now.
Thanks to you.
To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of the Raptor
All engines
engines.
are running still too.
This is good! That is beautiful!
All engines are running.
Pirates engines.
All 33
Starship will
engines
then
are still running.
separate from the Super Heavy
Come on,
booster
cameraman.
into space. And at the
Focus.
same time, the 3 engines that are still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster.
All engines still going, man.
Engines will ignite for the boost back
Yeah.
burn, putting the first stage on path for a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico.
There we go. Look at that. Just the engines look like a UFO in and of itself, like a disc. It's awesome. It's a flying popsicle.
Engine power continues to look nominal on 33 Raptor engines. We're about to shut down the first stage and perform staging. Let's watch and listen.
I'm just impressed that the splash pad works so well, dude. These guys are genius. What you doing? What you doing? What you doing?
And acquisition of signal Houston and New Orleans.
It looked like it was gimbling too much. I thought it was tipping over. Come on, baby. Hot stage. Hot stage.
Stage 7 separation.
Oh, look at that! Ah! Look at him go! Is the boost back burn?
They're staging.
Oh my god.
That's a very aggressive boost back burn.
I mean, it's not a big explosion. That looked like the ring.
Yeah, that thing was like, I'm out.
No way.
See them separated there.
Booster engine cut off.
Oh, you've got to be
Oh, where's the dual screen?
Incredible views of our super heavy
Look at that
booster.
tracking.
As
Oh!
you can see, the super heavy booster has just experienced a rapid unscheduled
Fireworks!
However, our ship is still underway with all 6. And we just heard there, ship avionics powered to nominal. All 6 engines are lit, as you can see from the blue there at the bottom right-hand side of your screen.
Greatest magic trick in the world, just like that.
something exciting.
It's gone.
Now, we did know that the stages were going to be incredibly dynamic. We knew that there was a chance that the booster would not be super heavy booster data and just figure out how we can make the booster better for the next assembly. However, our ship
Yeah,
is
that hot staging. put
Yeah,
a
all
lot of
33
load
engines
on
are
the
not
top
working
of the
anymore, if you can
booster.
see that on the
Of course,
bottom
that's
left-hand
what
side of your screen there.
dynamic stuff happening. But ship is still going strong.
Go
and
ship,
it's doing
go!
great. Right now, the ship, the second stage, is on its way. Like we said, you can see all 6 of its engines are ignited. The next major milestone for the ship will be the shutdown of those engines, or SECO, second engine cutoff.
They
which,
need
if
like a
you
little
follow our Falcon 9
gravestone
launches,
rip
familiar
icon above the
terminology
booster.
there.
That'd be hilarious.
So far, today has been incredibly successful, even with the RUD of the super heavy booster. This is amazing.
Primary
It's like
objective of the
the
booster,
booster did
today
its
to
job,
get to
and then it
hot
was like,
staging to
it's
get
all you
ship
now,
on its way to
Starship,
orbit.
and then it killed
It
itself.
did that admirably.
Self-sacrifice.
Yeah, we definitely asked.
Starship trajectory nominal.
Self-sacrificial
All right,
booster.
great news there. That trajectory for ship is
Acquisition of
nominal.
signal, Cape Canaveral.
Once again, Starship's second stage is firing those engines, and as you just heard, everything's looking good. Now, for the ship, we wanted it to survive hot staging, which, as you can see there by that little dot on your screen, it did. We also want to basically demonstrate that the successful startup of those engines, demonstrating controlled ascent, which is what it's doing right now, and eventually orbital insertion.
Do they not have onboard
we are
cameras on
hoping
this thing?
to
Apparently not.
basically send this around the Earth. And if it makes it this far, things
Splash
looking
down
good.
in the Pacific
now, for the
Ocean,
ship,
we
a couple hundred wanted it
miles
to survive
north of
hot
Hawaii.
staging, which, as now, if
Yeah,
we get
the
that
fuel
far,
gauges are pretty cool.
like all of that sounds great. Secondary
Propellant
objectives
gauges.
for ship, again, continuing to gather engine data and about its health, performance.
Nominal ship chamber pressures.
Great news there. That tells us that the chamber pressures inside of the Starship, again, that's that small dot on your screen, basically the propellant pressures in the ship are looking good.
Yeah, the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see essentially a user interface showing us which engines are lit. So the 3 center sea level Raptor engines on ship are gimbaling engines. The 3 outer engines in the triangle,
like
the
we're
larger
looking at a
ones
star
are
or
Raptor
something.
vacuum
What's everyone
engines.
looking at?
All of them continuing to fire nominally. So they're at the pressures that we expect to try to get into our target trajectory today.
Yeah.
And we're not targeting orbit today. We're targeting almost orbit today. That's very intentional as part of the mission design. The goal is to get to a thrust profile similar to what we would need for orbit, but also
And
to get
expected
to the
losses
energy
signal,
levels
Houston.
that the ship would need
Test
to
that heat
dissipate
shield.
for re-entry. And so we're actually going in a suborbital trajectory today.
What's going on?
But
What's
that
happening?
trajectory will get us to the energy levels that we need at re-entry, where we can really stress that heat shield and
Star's
get
shining
valuable
brighter
data
now.
on re-entry. And those calls that we are still on a nominal trajectory to and a see nominal thrust pressures profile means that we similar have to a what really we would good need for shot orbit, of hitting our target but orbit. also
Yeah.
to get to the energy
Maybe
level.
one of the
Now,
engines
if
is acting
the
up.
booster had survived,
Although they're all
we
burning
would be around the time where it would be getting
One of the
ready
engines
to
might be
land,
eating itself.
performing its re-entry, but it unfortunately did not survive. That being said, that's okay.
That might be
it
the RCS
survived
system.
several
Terminal guys.
seconds after hot staging. So we're going to take that data and improve the hot staging sequence and probably improve the hardware itself for the next flight.
Leaf. Oh, I think that's supposed to happen. It was basically out of propellant there. I wonder what the trajectory, if it looks nominal or not. Nominal. This is a success overall. It got through hot. The booster was supposed to do a controlled splashdown, but it said it decided to go poof, which was pretty awesome to watch, not gonna lie. It just did it so randomly. Just one of the engines must have had a catastrophic failure or something. That, or it was going off. It might have been going off trajectory and SpaceX blew it up. That might have been what happened.
Coming up on the projected time that ship would shut down its engines.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with it yet.
As you can tell by the excitement from the crowd here at Mission Control Center in Hawthorne.
There's Elon.
There's a great view of our Star Command Center. That's our control center at Starbase Texas. The crowd here, Mission Control Center behind us in Hawthorne. Everyone is super exciting. What a successful day this has been.
It's a huge
so
camera
far.
for the 21st century, dude. You just use your iPhone now. Is Starship still alive? That is the question.
And I mean, up to this point, major successful milestones through hot staging, which was the big objective today. So we are going to head into the coast phase.
Off the cuff, I mean,
Observer,
it looks like they did terminate it.
5 minutes. We'll be
Like
returning around
which maybe could have let it
minute
go into
mark.
Africa or something,
And
so they would have, if it
while we're
deviated
waiting
from
for
the flight plan.
Starship to continue on to its next step for re-entry. We're not totally
That's
sure
Elon's
what video
brother
we're gonna
right there,
get,
and that's Elon's
that
son,
video
whose
comes
name
normally
nobody can
by
pronounce.
overflying ground stations, but we don't have a ton along our flight path. So fingers crossed that we will get some via Starlink on this mission, since we're testing that out.
They are using Starlink, all right.
And also give us a moment. We are hearing some chatter on the net, so we're going to try to parse that for you. While we're waiting for Starship to continue on to its
Yes,
next
so if
step
you're
for
just tuning
re-entry.
in,
We're not
you got a
totally sure
very
what video we're going to get.
liftoff,
And that
successful
video
booster
comes normally by
separation, hot
overflying
staging,
ground stations,
and then the
but we don't
booster
have
did
a
its boost
ton
back burn, and my guess it might have went off telemetry and they just detonated it, they clacked it,
since we're testing
because
that
it
out.
was just so rapid. I'd have to go back and play it.
They
Either that or
didn't
an
say
engine
they
malfunction
rutted it.
and started a
So
chain
that was
reaction. But it
Seco?
looked
That
like
might have been
Potentially
Seco,
just
the
Seco?
second engine cutoff. Yeah, meaning.
And also give us a moment. We are hearing some chatter on the net, so we're going to try to parse that for you.
Oh,
Okay.
parse it.
Parse, please. We
Please
will
parse.
stand by. That was
Oh,
the imagery from this will be. I can't even begin to explain how beautiful. And we still have.
Kimball?
We still have our cameras recording. By the way, I'm seeing
Yeah.
recording
Oh, you've got-
on Mission Control.
Mission Control.
Yes, we had one that we don't have access to anymore, Mast Cam, but it was triggered, so hopefully and we might have lost it from shaking and stuff.
Well, let's see.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna.
We
have,
probably just lost the
We
dish
haven't
connection from the
gotten any more
shaking.
data since then.
But I bet we do
so we
have
think
it
we
recording.
may have
via-
lost
Spencer, can
the
you,
second
can-
stage, so we would not
You
be
lost
in the coast
it.
phase. We wouldn't be able to come back in an hour or so and possibly get ready for reentry.
How do you lose a ship in
What
space,
we do know
bro?
right now is we had an on-time launch at 7 o'clock. We got through the boats. First stage looked beautiful with 33 Raptor engines firing. We got the hot staging, the thing that we really wanted to see and impressed. We saw the separation. We saw the flip maneuver.
If you live in Hawaii,
We
get
saw
your
the
umbrella
layout
out.
of the 6 Raptor engines on Starship, and it headed away.
It's about to rain
Everything really
pieces.
looked good.
About to rain Starship
But
on
what
you.
we do believe right now is that the automated flight termination system on second stage appears to have triggered very late in the burn as we were headed downrange out over the Gulf of Mexico. But the real topping on the cake today, that successful liftoff, Kate, Shiva, the hot staging is just beautiful. Exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, ultimately, honestly, such an incredible.
that's like worst case scenario. That's like the only thing that worries me. Like, is this